sitting back and thinking that you're, especially as a vocalist, like just waiting for your band members, the instrumentalists, to just do everything, then you just come in and do vocals. Well, you really should be doing much more, finding new ways to promote and this.
He's the vocalist of Laylines, a band who mix metalcore with hip hop and even have a little bit of nerd culture mixed in. You may know them from their songs Hourglass View or Before He Cheats. Please welcome Caleb of Laylines to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Excited to, sit down, get a little look at like what being in a band's like, what, Laylines, just creative process is like, all of that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited as well. So first question, just to sort of get into it, what for you was your first real like experience with music, or what made you find a passion for music?
Yeah, so I started music pretty young. I remember the first song that I had ever discovered was Eminem's Not Afraid. I discovered it over the 3DS had this little flip note app where people would make like stick figure fighting videos, and then I found Eminem's Not Afraid from that, and from there I went down a huge rabbit hole of hip hop and rap battles especially. And I had, at that time, I think I was around just getting into high school, and I really wanted to do rap battles and stuff, but I live in a predominantly white area with a lot of country artists, so nobody was trying to rap with me. So I went online and I found my own hip hop community, this battle rap forum, and they pushed me into making music. And then from there, so it was pretty much just hip hop for a long time until I got a bit older and got in with sort of the goth kids, the emo kids, and they introduced me to the whole world of metal music and stuff. And then, finding artists like Backwards where they mix the two, that really drove me. And just out of high school, I had started uploading covers to YouTube, and that led me to my first band, which was Dreamsick. And when they fell apart, I joined a band called Fireset the Albatross, and I'm still with Fireset the Albatross, but I decided we make more of a hardcore and progressive music, and I wanted to do something where I could mix my hip hop influence and my metalcore influences. And so I decided, well, why not just give it a shot by myself? And I started Laylines.
Yeah. And so I guess once you sort of started Laylines, in that moment, what was your process like to find band members? You're like, let me start this band. What's next? How did you go about finding other members? Was that online, people you knew? How did that all come about?
Yeah, it was a mix of both. So when I started Laylines, I decided I was going to start with just covers. So I don't know how to play any instruments, so I was hitting up all my like old band members who weren't doing anything, other people in the scene who weren't doing anything, and pretty much everyone either had something going on or they weren't trying to get back into music. So I was searching online, and I had came across Ryan Cunningham, who has done a lot of instrumentals for people such as Taylor Destroy, Kay the Screamer, other big YouTubers, and I hit him up, and he was like, yeah, absolutely. So we did the first cover that I put out, which was Your Turn to Roll from the Critical Role theme song. And then from there, me and him got talking. We got really close just as people. And I was like, well, how would you feel about making some original music for me? And he was like, absolutely. You got any ideas? And I was like, tons. And so from there, I just, so Entrance made Hourglass View, and the next song that we have coming out for Who Doth the Light Turn, that one actually features him vocally, but he's done all the instrumentals for those. And after I started putting music out, I decided, well, I kind of want to do this live, so let me find some people. So I scoured the internet. I found a couple of dudes off of Craigslist, and I hit up some people from the local scene who had been showing love and who were already playing music, which I think is probably the best way to go. if you want people who are going to be dedicated and really do the things that you want to do, find the people who are already doing it. And so I just pretty much asked them, hey, how would you guys feel about coming out and jamming? And we all hung out and we locked in, and yeah, now we're a full band.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, it seems, I know that not everyone does it, but now that you say it seems so obvious, like if I'm looking for someone that I want to do a certain thing, there are probably people who are already doing it. So I mean, just reach out to
Exactly.
them first rather than trying to get someone to start doing this for themselves. Um, mixing metalcore and hip hop, it seems like two very different like genres of music. How did you typically go about finding like ways to mix the two?
Yeah, it is interesting that they are pretty wildly different in terms of like um but they're much closer than a lot of people think. Like when you start, getting into unclean vocals and screaming, a lot of the things for that is finding a cadence, finding a flow, trying to figure out, okay, what pattern are we going to do to really accentuate the ideas that we have and what's going to sound the coolest, which is the same thing a lot of rappers do is they'll put on a beat and start sitting there trying to come up with a flow or a cadence. So the two actually blend themselves to each other quite nicely. Aside from the actual beats versus a metal instrumental, you gotta kind of find ways that they're gonna help each other out. But definitely vocally, they work really well together. That's how I find a lot of my patterns is I rap out what I'm going to scream first, or sometimes I'll start screaming something. I'll go, well, what if I chopped it up a little bit and threw it as a rap? So I'd say it's very fun to try to find new ways to make the two work and to go back and forth. I might start rapping something, go into screaming, or vice versa. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. And you know, growing up, you like it seems from a young age the music was sort of what you wanted to do. Was there any other thoughts or careers you had in mind that you might pursue?
yes, a lot of things I've been interested in have been vocally. I really want to go into voice acting. I also really want to do just regular acting or directing. But music was just played such a huge role in my life, and I was able to do it a little bit. So I was like, well, I feel like this is what I'm being led towards, and a lot of like more entertaining type jobs is sort of where my
Yeah,
focus has
yeah,
always
yeah.
been.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking to you now. You definitely have the voice for voice acting. So, I mean, I'm sure
Thanks.
that's still an option to get into.
One day,
Um,
one day.
and so for like anyone else, maybe it's a single artist or they're part of a band, what sort of tips or advice would you give to them if they're just starting to release music or just starting their careers?
I would say make your product, whether it be your sound, try to get it as professional as you possibly can. You can put in all the money that you want towards getting it out to people, but if it does not sound good or professional, it really doesn't matter. It just means more people have seen a bad mix or more people have seen something that doesn't sound good to them. You definitely want to focus on one, honing your craft and getting it professionally packaged. I always say spend the money, save it up however you have to, but make sure that the product that you're giving out to people is as clean as it can possibly be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Definitely great advice because promotion, management, everything. There's so many parts that go into a music artist or a band and getting it out there. But don't forget that you actually need the music to promote and to be managed. So definitely,
Exactly.
definitely good advice there to, focus on the music first and then sort of let everything else happen. Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories.
DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. And super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program.
You're involved with this other band that you brought up, Fires of the, and how did you, I guess when you said like, you know, I'm gonna start my own thing, where did the name Laylines come from? Did it just sort of, you know, come to you, or is there some sort of story behind what made that the name of the band?
Yeah, there's a well, I had been hearing the term ley lines for quite a bit because I'm really into tabletop RPGs and D&D and stuff like that. So Critical Role, their dungeon master Matt Mercer would always talk about the ley lines and the connecting things throughout. But the first thing that ever drew me to that name was this band called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. They have a song called Ley Lines, and they do this super cool back and forth vocal thing, and that song title plus just hearing it all over the place, it just felt like that was the right move. I really wanted a band title with an L in it for some reason. I just really liked the way that an L sounded. So yeah, Ley Lines just happened to be the one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, makes enough sense to me. You know, I've heard all sorts of names from like really deeply thought out meanings to like, oh, it asked me for like a name and I just said whatever came into my head.
That's how
So, I mean, whatever works for you, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. Childish Gambino got his name from a name generator online,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
anything
Yeah.
works.
And I guess like it's interesting to me that you said you wanted a band name with like an L in it. Do you like making music or anywhere else, do you think about like sounds or certain letters when you're writing music?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like sounds, and as I got more into singing, I had to find that certain words have to be said a new way to make them more pleasant to the ears. I took a couple voice lessons, and they're like, yeah, I know you want to use this phrase, but you should say it like this because it's going to be much more pleasing. So yeah, especially when finding the name, I had tried to start a band with an L in it, and someone had already taken the name, so I was like, So, just yeah, here, there are certain like sounds and stuff that are just more pleasant, and so yeah, yeah. To answer your
Yeah,
question,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. And so it seems like you have plenty of band experience. When you sort of take songs from like building or recording and put it into a live setting, what was your first live show like? Did you have any anxieties or nervousness about it, or were you more calm and like ready for the moment?
Um, yeah, I think so. I sort of have always had this saying that most vocalists are attention seekers. So, and I'm no different. You know, I want all eyes on me. I want to be the birthday boy and all that. But yeah, I wasn't. I didn't feel that like stage fright or anything. But I get this thing before every show, even now. Right when the music starts, right before my part, I forget my lyrics every time. Just right before it's supposed to happen.
That's
As soon as I'm
helpful.
on stage, I'm like, I sang it like 5 times in the car. How do I forget this first phrase? And then like right when it leads up, oh yeah, boom, got it. And then that's when all the nerves leave. Right when I'm supposed to go, I just let my mind leave, and it just starts happening. But I
Hmm.
do know that the first show that I ever did was it was quite bad. we it's still online somewhere. I'm not gonna let anyone find it, but it was quite bad. I was so goofy. I didn't have any kind of like physical stage presence. But yeah, it was
So not one of
I
the
loved it.
performances that you just go back and watch all the time.
No, every once in a while just to tell myself what not to do.
Every once in a while to say like, see this, do the exact opposite of this. Don't do
Exactly.
this.
Maybe move around. Don't just stand in the same place the whole time.
Yeah, that's a pretty good tip to anyone performing.
Yes.
Use the stage.
Have fun
Don't
with it.
don't just stand in one place.
Exactly.
And so, is there anyone that sort of like inspired you to, because I'm sure like music at times could have been like feeling like you were plateauing or maybe you hit a hard time or something. Is there anyone that sort of inspired you to just like no matter what happens, like stick to it and try to keep pursuing music, or did that just come naturally?
A bit of both. I've always kind of, when I get locked into something, just want to push it until I can't. But I've definitely had down moments and lulls. The song Hourglass View is about feeling like everyone else is making it and you're just kind of sitting back and watching. The song Entrance Made, I even have a line where I say something along the lines of I remember sitting in the back seat begging for wins, asking everyone when. And it's just in reference to like sitting back and thinking that you're, especially as a vocalist, like just waiting for your band members, the instrumentalists, to just do everything, then you just come in and do vocals. Well, you really should be doing much more, finding new ways to promote and this. And I would also say my fiance, anytime I show her a new song and she gets excited, it gets me more excited to go make something new. Or I think, oh
Yeah.
man, how is she gonna feel when I show her this vocal take or this instrumental? And so yes, I would say she has been my number one cheerleader, and just even the metal community in Michigan, at least the people that I hang around are all very fired up for each other. So even when you're on a lull or something's not happening, they're always like, "Well, we might got something for you to come do with us," or "Hey man, what you been working on?" And that's always exciting when you get a bunch of people talking about the things that they're passionate about. It gets you more passionate, Buck. So.
Yeah, yeah. And so, today there are so many bands that are promoting themselves on social media or are finding like exposure from playlists and being put on playlists. What do you think about how like accessible music has become today? It seems like everyone's promoting themselves on TikTok. Everyone has access to like a computer with some form of production software. What do you
Yeah,
think about like just seemingly everyone having access to music?
think it's awesome. We get a bunch more music, newer sounds, cool things. And the one thing about COVID is it put us all on like a equal playing field. So all these bands that were getting attention through their touring or being outside, so to speak, it since it locked us down, now everybody was on an equal playing field. And because people's attention spans got much shorter with all this TikTok and stuff, well, it makes it like easier to be found as a band because now people are even more willing to give like a smaller artist a look because now even home production sounds better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I think it's made it a lot easier, and luckily it's given us so much more cool music to check out.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that, people are finding, like you said, smaller bands or even smaller artists and giving them a chance no matter what, like you don't need a professional recording studio anymore. You can use, Steve Lacy, who's like now a giant artist and got all this like fame. A lot of his songs, he says, are just made on GarageBand,
Yeah,
which like comes with any, Apple phone product computer. And so like the fact that you can listen to something and it sounds professional, it sounds really good, and you don't have to like leave your house or even your bedroom for it, I think is awesome.
I think it's awesome. And a lot of producers, even bigger names, are now more accessible, easier to get in touch with. So you can
Yeah.
record yourself at home, send off all your stems, and they mix it, and it sounds even more professional than ever. And
Yeah.
inside, that you just recorded in your bedroom, but
Yeah, you're
they,
you're having collaborations come up of people who like never even saw each other in person. It's
yeah,
just I'll send you the instrumental, you send me back vocals, I send you the back this mix, you send me like
Exactly.
it's just a back and forth that's all digital now.
Yeah, and some people would have never have been able to even meet or to get this kind of connection. Like some people, like on the other side of the pond, now we get to connect through Facebook or Gmail. We can just send each other a couple emails, and now we got like a banger song.
Yeah, yeah. And one of your songs with Laylines is a cover of Juice World's Lucid Dreams. What was the motivation to do like this specific song in your own way?
I heard it I found it after he had passed, and the song was just looping through my head a bunch, and I had tried. I love hearing other people's like renditions of songs, and I just didn't find a metal version of it that I really liked. So I was like, well, why not do it? I like singing to it, and I think it'd be cool to do. So yeah, it was just hearing it all the time, hearing all these things that could be done with it, and I just wasn't hearing anyone else do them. So I figured, why not me? And so yeah, I just
Yeah.
loved singing to it. So why not?
Yeah, I mean that seems like a pretty like just no matter what it is, a pretty easy way to have some space for yourself. Like if you think of something that you see no one else is doing, do it. Because
Yeah,
not only are you gonna be like maybe the first one to do it, but that also means immediately you're already at the top. Like if anyone else
yeah,
has that same idea or is looking for it, now you're the only person that they can go to. And
exactly.
so
And now it exists. The thing I've
yeah,
been
and
hoping to hear now exists in the world.
yeah, yeah. And so for more, original songs that Laylines makes, how are you coming up with those? What does like the creative process for a song typically look like, or does it sort of just vary from song to song?
I would say it definitely varies from song to song. With um the couple that I've done with Ryan Cunningham, it was sort of a mix of how it would come about. So I have one song where I came up with all the lyrics, the melodies and such first, sent it to him and said, hey, could you make something around this? And he sent me back something that would just fit perfectly. And there was other times where I'd say, hey, I like these bands and I want to make an instrumental where if we were somehow able to connect to these like three bands, and he'd go write it up, send it to me. I'd either say yes, no, or could we change this a little bit? And he'd hit it back, and every time he was just knocking it out of the park. Sometimes it'd be, hey, I want to this song, I don't have any lyrics or anything, but I want it to go rap section, scream section, sing section, rap, and then he'd put it all together and
Yeah,
make my crazy doodlings of ideas make sense to me.
yeah. And when it's more based off of like other bands or artists, how do you try to balance keeping it with like, oh, I want the style of this band or like something that sounds like this song without like getting too close or just imitating that song?
Yeah, that's definitely a fear. I think a lot of times I like to pick two bands that sound so wildly different. Trying to put them together is a little difficult. And when you do find that sound, it doesn't, you can hear the influence from each band, but it does not sound like each band. So
Yeah,
I would say that's definitely sort of the way to go. Find two things so wildly different that when they finally do come together, you can go, oh, I kind of see that, but it doesn't sound like like that.
yeah,
Or even like if it does, if there is a sound that sounds very similar to another band, a lot of times when I throw something on it vocally, it may change the entire vibe of the sound. But
yeah.
it's also about finding very professional members and members that one have their own unique style and can understand one where you're coming from, but two also they know where to put their own influences in.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure being a band, having other people that you're collaborating with so regularly, it's already a collaborative setting. You have other people's ideas, opinions bouncing off each other. And then when you do collaborations with, other artists, other bands, adding even more people in, what does that look like? Does it seem to be like harder for like to meet everyone's ideas, or do you think it's just like the more the merrier, we're getting more ideas for it?
For me, it's the more the merrier. If I could if I could put a song out with a feature every single time, I would. I know that's not what everybody wants, but I love collaborating. I love getting, especially hearing artists that I really like on a style that they don't typically do. I think always brings out a new element to songs.
Yeah.
Like our last song with Andreas for Hourglass View, he typically doesn't do a style like that. So it was really cool to have him come in and throw what he usually does, like sort of the post-hardcore thing, and it was really cool to hear him on sort of this R&B metal track because he came in with a take that we wouldn't have ever thought of. So it's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
cool to hear that sort of thing.
yeah. And that's awesome that you find ways to sort of have everyone's input like really recognized and thought of. And I mean, it's great for you that you even want like more voices than fewer. I'm sure there are artists who try to do like everything solo or like it solo, and then when they have collaborations, there's a bit of like headbutting, a little bit of like discussion back and forth of what they should do. I feel like just being open-minded to other people's ideas makes it so much easier to finally get like a finished product that, hopefully sounds as the best it can be.
Yeah, I mean, it adds so many cool ideas where you get unique sounds that you wouldn't have previously thought of, especially like trying to do everything solo can be fun because you have sort of an element of control over it, but it also seems, at least for me, that it would be a little bit too boring for me if I was doing literally everything. I mean, I physically can't because I can't play all the instruments, but I think that I would get so bored of my own stuff if I was just doing it entirely me, because I think I would feel like, why put it out? I've already done it for me. Like, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. No, it definitely does. And I guess with songs that you've put out, is there any like one song that really performed better or worse than you initially thought that it would?
Definitely both of the originals that I have put out. Entrance Made definitely performed way better than I had anticipated, just being a solo thing. Um, uh, I wasn't anticipating it doing as well as it did, and I definitely didn't anticipate Hourglass View getting as many views as it did. I was very happy, and I'm very thankful that it did.
Yeah, yeah. And like I guess why didn't you think that those songs might not have done as well? Is it just from the fact that it was more solo, or was there something about like the songs that made you question whether or not it was gonna do well?
For Entrance Made, it was because it was my debut. I was, you never know how you're gonna do when you're kind of coming out with your own solo, with your own like original music. Like covers, it can always be hit or miss, but at least those songs have succeeded in the past. But with
Yeah,
something that was entirely me as a debut, my first time sort of putting it all out there, I definitely just didn't anticipate it passing even 1,000 views. So I thought maybe 1,000 if I was really lucky, but I didn't see it hitting the numbers that it did. And for Hourglass View, I just wasn't sure if anyone was going to care um to hear a R&B song from a metal vocalist. So I was
yeah,
very happy that it did blow up. But yeah, was not anticipating hitting over 10,000
yeah,
views.
yeah. And with like such a unique sound that we've been talking about, metalcore and hip hop, do you think there's one song that you've made that really shows off what that sounds like or what Laylines as a band sounds like? Or do you think you're still trying to find like the perfect mix of those two genres?
I would say Entrance Made probably has the most versatile mix that I'm going for. But I think with the next couple singles, nothing is gonna sound like Entrance Made. So, but I would say that's the one that like really encapsulates the sound that I would love to continue to do. Um, and the next couple, we're gonna have quite a few singles come out that aren't gonna sound anything like anything that we put
Yeah,
out previously.
Which
So
can be a good thing, you know, to
yeah,
have people, you know, get a different side of you or a different sound that you can make.
yeah, and I'm hoping just no one gets bored. You know, like
Yeah.
if I can just keep putting out a bunch of diverse songs, I'm hoping that the thought is, oh man, what's he putting out this time?
Yeah, yeah. And so if you know, with how collaborative you are, if you could make a song with any artist or like work on a song with any band as a whole, what artist or band would you want that to be, and why do you think you're like that'd be a good collaboration?
There are a couple that are there's a couple that a lot of my fans know that I want to work with, and it might be in the works right now. So I won't say anything about those,
Okay.
but uh I would love to work with the band Fair to Midland. They're no longer a band anymore, unfortunately, but any of those guys, all of them were so unique and fire. And I would just love to see what we could do if we could bring that like almost dream theatery sound into this metalcore hip hop genre. Um, I would love to work with somebody out of the U8 community, which is like the Vocaloid YouTube cover artist community. I've tried reaching out to them and they're just very hard to get in contact with, but that would probably be the biggest one. Fair to Midland for certain,
Yeah.
and then somebody from the YouTube anime cover scene.
And so it seems even with that, like you want to collaborate, you want to try all these new sounds, but with keeping like metalcore as sort of part of it or as
Mhm.
maybe a foundation. Do you think that's something that you want to like keep as a constant, or are you looking to even go out into like completely other genres?
I think for Laylines, the big thing will be to kind of metalcore being like the sort of glue that brings everything together, but I would love to just reach out to as many genres and just like pick and choose as much as I can and just mix it into metalcore, like metalcore being the broth of the soup, and
Yeah.
then all these other genres being the meat, vegetables, and all the rest. But I think for me, I'll definitely be uh just going doing as many things, anything that I think sounds fun, I'm gonna do. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it'll always be
That's I think definitely a great mindset to have for music, rather than looking at like what sounds the best or maybe what will like perform the best. Just do what you think is cool or what sounds good to you or what you're interested in doing. And I think automatically it's gonna I think automatically it's going to do well. Not that I mean it's going to get like tons of streams and be your number one song, but it's going to just make you happy that like you got to do that and got to put it out.
exactly, because you know, trying to blow up, you never know what's going to blow up. You could do the what you consider to be the most this is what people want thing. You could continue to do that forever, but you never know. It could not, it might blow up, it might not. So it's like, why not do something that at the end of the day, if all said and done, at least I did all the things that were fun
I
and
mean,
I
yeah,
wanted to do.
like I was just thinking of like a lot of songs nowadays have this great like story behind it, or the lyrics are like maybe talking to the fans specifically. But I don't know, on the more like hip hop side, this artist, Baby No Money and Rich Brian, they came out with a song called Edamame, and I was watching
Okay.
an interview that they did about it because it got like super big on TikTok. It like blew up. It was used in like movies and whatnot. And they talked to the main artist on it, Baby No Money, and he was like, "Yeah, if you listen to the lyrics, it's nonsense. Even I don't know what I'm saying. Like, there's no story. Look into it if you want. There's nothing there." And I was like, "It's so ridiculous that he's just like doing like it. It almost seemed like he was literally like, does it rhyme? Great, let's
All
use it."
right, let's
And
throw it in.
then it blows up to be this massive hit. And
Yeah,
so
you
like
just
it
never
really just
know.
shows that you can't predict it or anything.
Exactly. You never know. So you might as well do things that are going to make you happy. And if it does blow up, then great. If not, then at least you did what made you happy.
Hmm. And so is there a song of yours that you have out now, or maybe that's coming, that is your like favorite song you've made so far with Ley Lines?
Yes. I would say Hourglass View is probably one of my favorites. I really liked Cerulean Panda has been a close friend of mine. He used to be in Fire Said the Albatross. And I've always loved Andreas's vocals. So to have both of them on a song together is just amazing for me. Just being able to hear one my friend and one of our greatest influences on a song together is just truly awesome. But we do have a song coming out. It doesn't have a title yet, and I'm still waiting for a feature back from it. But it's super heavy, aggressive, and it's my band's favorite, and it's my favorite. I'm very excited for that one to come out.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess like I think you mentioned it earlier, your upcoming single for Who Doth the Light Turn. What can fans expect from that? Is there any like story behind it? Anything that you're okay like putting out and sharing about that upcoming single?
Yeah, that's it's a emo R&B track. It's gonna sound it's not gonna be as it's not gonna be super close to Hourglass View, but it is in that same style. So I think you'd be able to listen to both of them. And if you liked Hourglass View, you'll definitely like For Who Doth the Light Turn. um it features my producer Ryan Cunningham, who's become a close friend of mine, and my own little brother Grow. He's a great hip hop artist and R&B artist. So it was really fun to get him on that track. And the title of the song comes from my fiance. She said that in a car while we were on our way home from something. We hit a red light and both sides were red, and she was For Whom Doth the Light Turn? And I thought it was so funny. I was like, I need to turn that into a song title. I'm putting that in my phone right now.
Yeah. And being able to, work with your little brother on a song, what is that like for you, or what does that mean for you that you can sort of both bond over, like create something that you're both so passionate about?
It's very exciting, and we're both very competitive. So it always makes us try to push ourselves that much further. We have two songs together. We have For Who Doth the Light Turn and another song coming out in March with the band Notions. And I would say on this song, and I hope he sees this, I murdered him on this song. I did fantastic. And on the next song, he may have beat me on the next song, but on this one, I got him.
So you know what that means. You need a third one to see who's
We need
really
the tiebreaker.
best.
And he's always been so good, especially in hip hop. When I quit hip hop, he kept going, and I would definitely say he's a better hip hop artist than I am. But I'll murder him on a song any day of the
week. Yeah, great. Well, I mean, those are all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about, Laylines, sort of the story behind it, and how much of a better rapper you are than your little brother.
Thank you so much.
Fire at the Albatross, you yourself, wherever people can find you online, whatever you want to promote, feel free to just shout it out now, let people know where they can find you.
Awesome. You can find me at Laylines or Laylines Band on pretty much everything. We have our new single coming out February 4th, For Whom Doth the Light Turn, featuring Ryan Cunningham and Grow. And for Fire Said the Albatross, we are either FSTA Band or Fire Said the Albatross. And our last single was Pumpkin Spice G Rover Cripes. And it's a we love goofy titles here in Michigan. So, but yeah, you can find us pretty much on everything.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll leave a link to some of that down below, and can't wait to hear this upcoming single and the hidden rap battle between you and Grow.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me. We'll definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, definitely.